Among Us, the multiplayer-only social deduction party game that took the world by storm in the terrible year of 2020. You either love it or you hate it, but the fact is that this game was legitimately more popular than even Minecraft for a brief period of time. And inevitably, whenever something gains this amount of popularity, you know what happens. People try to clone it and get a little slice of that pie for themselves. So while all the other smart YouTubers in the world were busy creating Among Us content and becoming insanely huge and making lots of money, I was over here looking up clones of Factorio and making videos about that instead. I guess we all see how that worked out, huh? But something really enjoyable that I discovered in this last year is looking for clones of popular games and seeing how they stack up. So naturally, whenever somebody in my Discord shared a couple of games that he found on Steam that pretty blatantly seemed to copy Among Us, I thought, you know what? Let's make a video out of it. So I got some of my friends and some of my community together for an afternoon of playing Among Us clones. It'd be a lot of fun, right? Boy, was I ever wrong. So here's the plan. I con 6 to 7 people into buying a bunch of garbage on Steam, and then we all play it together and see how it stacks up against the original. The first game on my list was Impostor Inside Us. Unfortunately, what I didn't know at the time was that this is single player only. Who makes a single player Among Us clone? What? Whatever, we'll come back to this one later, because it's the least interesting out of all the games that we played. So let's move on to the second game. Killer Inside Us. Out of the 3 games that I originally had lined up, this looked the most promising. If you look at the art style here, you can clearly see that some good work was done to give it a memorable and interesting aesthetic. The map was relatively easy to navigate, and I think that's all the good things I have to say about it. There was clearly some work done to this game and some ideas that the developer had, but unfortunately it seems like he just didn't have the capability to do what he wanted to do. Because let me tell you, this game is full of bugs.
This is good. It's got a disclaimer on it.
Yeah.
I apologize to all of you for the current phase of the game. Since the game is an online game, I cannot test and approve all the features I have added alone. I think I will be able to grow my team and do better with the income I get from the game. Please be patient and let me know the errors that occur. I guarantee that I will make it better as soon as possible. Version 1.07-13.12.20.
What's interesting is that most of the bugs that we found revolved around interrupting an action or a sabotage or something that was going on by calling a meeting, either by hitting the button in the center of the map or by finding a dead body. For example, at one point whenever a meeting was called, the imposter player was inside one of the vents. Unfortunately, whenever the meeting was over, he kind of was still inside of the vent. His kill cooldown would not tick down, and he was invisible. He could do absolutely nothing to get himself out of this situation.
I was in the vent when you called the meeting, and it broke.
And for another example, whenever I was the imposter, I decided I was going to sabotage and lock all the doors. Unfortunately, while that sabotage was going on, somebody else hit the meeting button, and whenever we got out of the meeting, all the doors remained locked. Nobody could leave the center of the map. Doing another sabotage never fixed it, so eventually I got found out because I couldn't kill anybody in the privacy that was required to win. And then at that point we were done. Even outside the bugs, this game is a total mess. As scuffed as this game is though, I will say we did have a decent amount of fun by jumping on top of each other and trying to make the absolute tallest human tower that we possibly could. And finally, there was actually one task that was very, very interesting that I think was probably everybody's favorite, at least the people who got to experience it. Whenever you do the DVD task, some random meme plays on the TV, and it's pretty glorious.
Oh, I found the TV, dude. What the f? Are you seeing this?
What?
But even that, after the initial shock value, is inevitably going to get old. So honestly, not worth it. Now, because our first game, Impostor Inside Us, turned out to be a single-player game instead of a multiplayer game, we decided to fill the gap with a game called Pretend. Now, out of all the Among Us clones that we played this day, this is definitely the most blatant copy. You have the same top-down perspective, you have the same simple characters. Hell, even the map is almost an exact replica of the default Among Us map, the Skeld. If you look at these two maps, they're practically the same thing. At least they're very close. There's at least some deviation, but not enough, you know? That said, Pretend is absolutely the best game that we played that day. First off, it's got a lot of personality on its own. Look at the pixel art. It's very nice.
This is actually, wow, this actually looks really nice.
Yeah,
it
I like the art.
immediately feels better.
The whole game is very aesthetically pleasing, especially as somebody who just completely loves pixel art. Like, I love the way this game looks. And probably the best part of all, at least out of everything that was intended, is the animation that happens whenever you vote somebody out. Unfortunately, though, some of the design isn't quite there. Like, there's some really annoying mini-games, and a lot of them have to do with clicking a lot, or spamming your spacebar, or doing repetitive motions with your mouse. In a game like this, I could see that causing some sort of repetitive stress injury, especially the weightlifting minigame, where you have to spam the spacebar as fast as possible. You have to press it 50 times to pass this test. And if you happen to be interrupted by getting killed or by a meeting, then you have to start over again, and you gotta spam on that spacebar. I gotta say though, we were all pretty pleasantly surprised at how competently put together this game was. It was literally only 99 cents, and for that price, most of us got our money's worth. Wait, free to play? I paid 99 cents for this! How could you do this to me? But by far the most fun that we had was by not actually playing the game, but by exploiting a lot of the bugs that we found while playing. At one point, we changed the settings to have the imposters win as quickly as possible. And whenever we did that, we were able to repeat a bug where whenever the imposters win, the result screen pops up and then immediately goes away so you can run around a little bit in the results screen. Completely useless, but kind of funny on its own. Like I said, Pretend is by far the best game that we played this day. But unfortunately for them, it's still just a blatant Among Us clone. So, like, who's gonna pick this game over Among Us, especially when there's absolutely no community to speak of? It's filled with bugs. And it even asks you to create an account whenever you first start the game. You can join as a guest, but like, why are you making me create an account? Just hook into my Steam like every other game does. I think what a lot of these developers don't quite understand is that it's almost impossible to rip people away from something that already has been proven to work and that already has a big audience. You see this all the time with all of these apps that are trying to take the place of YouTube or Twitch, right? YouTube and Twitch both have a very large audience that have a large investment in the content creators that they enjoy on that platform and the time that they've spent on that platform, like their accounts and their likes and their algorithm preferences and all of that. Ripping people away from those things that they've already invested a lot of time and energy into is so difficult. And unfortunately, even if you manage to convince some people to move, the overall buy-in is still going to be so low compared to the captive audience that was on the original thing. So while Pretend may have a better aesthetic and maybe more interesting mini games and a funnier eject animation, still, why would anybody play this over the already established Among Us? I can't think of a reason. I mean, the piano's kind of cool, I guess. Alright, so here's the last game. This is Killer Infected One of Us. Are you noticing a bit of a pattern with these titles? But what this game has that the other games didn't is that this game actually used to be called Among Us 3D. If that's not blatant copyright infringement, or at least an indication of intent, then I don't know what is. Unfortunately for them though, this was by far the most expensive and by far the worst game that we played not only on that day, but perhaps ever. First off, the game is just, it looks terrible. The lighting is bad, the models don't really fit in with each other, the colors aren't chosen very well, and it performs so so bad. The motion blur was sickening, the game hitched and lagged all the time. A lack of loading screens made it seem like the game was crashing almost every time you tried to change menus or do something different. Attempting to join server.
Same.
Crash.
Oh, I can't.
It just kicks
For
me back
real,
out to the
though.
server list. And my mouse is gone? And the server
Yeah.
list is gone?
It's also gone. Yep. All right.
Nope, that's
all right.
good.
Oh, it got kicked back to the menu. And that's before even actually starting to play the game. So we've already established what this game is trying to be. Among Us in 3D. Okay, sure, let's give it a try, okay? By the time we actually start playing, we're already all completely turned off by the performance and the aesthetic that the game is presenting to us. But it does seem to be copying one thing that Among Us did very poorly, and that's connecting to each other in multiplayer. It's weird how sometimes the...
All right, I'm in.
I did.
Session unavailable.
What the?
Sometimes it's just grayed out for me, even though it's public, and I have to put it in the code.
Wait.
And it just doesn't let me join.
Completely grayed out for me.
This time 3 people joined.
Yeah, I
And
can't.
the 45448 didn't work for me.
Yeah.
If you've played Among Us, especially during the height of its popularity, you might remember how difficult it was to get into a server with your friends. Just constant errors that would happen when you're trying to put in the code to connect to your friend's lobby. It took us a good 10 minutes to get into a game at one point, and oh boy, once we started playing, it somehow got worse.
Oh, I can open the door. I'm out of here.
Oh, the game started. Okay, there's no. Oh,
The game
Oh,
started
there's no
already?
game.
The game started?
yeah, the game has started.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Okay.
What am I even trying
I
to
don't
do?
even know.
When the game finally started, none of us actually realized that the game was going on. Really quickly, most of us got lost. Press the B button to pull up the map, and what the hell is this? I can't read this. This is by far one of the worst maps that I've ever seen in a video game. It's so hard to tell where anything is, how to get anywhere, what you gotta do, what your goals are, that most of us, I think, just started wandering around and just interacting with things. And there's so many useless things to interact with. You can pull the chairs out and push them back in. There's a screen that opens up a Steam page that shows you a lot of videos about how to actually do the mini games, because let me tell you, the mini games in this game are so convoluted and complex for a game of this style that I have to wonder what they were thinking. Maybe in a single player game or even a multiplayer game where speed isn't expected of you, these games might work, but they're so convoluted and so relatively complex for a game like this that I don't know if any of us actually solved any of the minigames that we tried. I saw 2 minigames, so I can at least show you some examples. One of them is a classic game where you have to line up the gaps in some circles. But whenever you change one circle, it's linked to another circle, so you have to find the correct configuration and the correct pattern to line everything up correctly. You know, by itself, it's a nice little puzzle, a nice little minigame, but not when you're trying to do things quickly. The second example that I have is you have these 6 dots, and you have to find the correct configuration of 3 connections. Unfortunately, the way that this is implemented, I couldn't find any way to actually solve this except by deductive reasoning. If you have a bad connection, it'll show you a red line. If you have a good connection, it'll show you a green line. The colors might be wrong, but the idea is there. Perhaps that's why they put all of these YouTube videos to teach people how to play these overly complex mini games for a game like this. And if you have to have YouTube videos for your mini games, then you're doing something wrong. That's all there is to it. This game is awful, dude. But that's just the gameplay. That's not even the bugs. That's not even the bugs. I'm not gonna show all of them, but here's one of the bigger bugs that we found. I found D-Pad Gamer dead in a room next to the start. So I reported the dead body, and naturally, I got put into a voting screen. Unfortunately, half the other players didn't.
What happened?
What is happening?
I reported somebody dead, and I think it's Sam.
I am dead, yes, but I'm stuck with my
My
map
mouse
open.
is stuck.
Yeah, I'm stuck. I can't do anything.
Who are we missing?
I can walk around.
We're all here.
A DJ's missing.
Yeah, my
I
game
can
crashed.
still walk around. Can
You can
guys
still walk around while we're voting?
Yeah.
That
Oh,
means you're the
what?
imposter. Get him.
And
I'm
get
not
Which one?
even the imposter.
Who did it?
Another bug, I was the last person infected before the infected people won. I was shown a victory screen whenever I got killed. Okay, I'll take whatever victories I can get these days. But, after that victory screen, we all discovered something very, very important.
You guys see that, right?
Return to lobby in developing.
You can't even go back to the lobby.
Really, one of the most basic things that you can put in a multiplayer game is giving the players the ability to restart a game quickly so they can get right back into the action. But no, and not this game. What does this game do? It makes you go back to the main menu, and then you fight with the server connection crap again. Come on, man. How do you release this in any state? I don't care if it's early access or not early access, which reminds me, this isn't even labeled as early access on Steam. In any multiplayer game like this, how can you reconcile releasing it without a quick restart option of some kind? Oh, it boggles my mind, the audacity of some of these developers. You might be thinking, hey Clown, aren't you being a little bit harsh to these game developers who are clearly not that great and need some practice? I mean, yeah, maybe, but here's the thing. They're charging me money for this incomplete crap. Now look, if you're charging me money for a product, I'm going to expect that that product works as advertised. The only game that I can say that worked as advertised out of these 3 games that I covered is Pretend. And even then, the bugs in that game really detract a lot from it. But you're gonna charge me $5 or $3 for something that breaks just as often as these games broke? No, I'm gonna rip you a new one, and I am not gonna feel bad about it. Early access or not, you're still asking for money for a product. And I'm expecting something that I can use, at least at some level, If the game's bad, that's one thing. But broken? I don't think there's any excuse for it to be broken at this level. It's just not good.
Are we allowed to just straight up be like, that's enough? I want to go.
Yeah, I wanna. My eyes are bleeding. My eyes are bleeding.
Anyway, after all this was done, I did go back and play the first game that we tried to play. The single player Among Us clone. This was just a mobile port of some mobile game, Impostor Inside Us. It's not good, but it is kind of interesting at least, because you could either choose to be a human or you could be a killer, and you can argue with bots. You can watch a minimap and see everything happen in real time. You can see all the players on the minimap, so you can have a good knowledge of what's going on. But whenever it comes time to vote, you have to argue with bots. And as far as I can tell, the bots respond to certain keywords. I decided to play as a survivor early on, and at some point I was like, you know what? I'm not having a good time. Let's see if I can convince the bots that I'm the killer. And lo and behold, I was very easily able to convince them that I was the one killing all the people, even though there was absolutely no evidence. It's so dumb. The game's not worth your time. It was not even worth my time, and I'm making a YouTube video about it. That's how... None of these games are worth your time, except maybe Pretend, because at least it looks good and it's got memes in it, but whatever. So there you have it. 4 Among Us clones, a 0 worth actually playing. This is my 3rd clones video. First one was Slay the Spire, and there was some good stuff in there. Second one was Factorio. All the games that I played were very good and very worth playing. This one, however, is the first one where my experience was almost completely negative. So, let me know what you thought in the comments below. What was your favorite? I don't know, man. Was I too harsh on these games? I really don't think so. But I hope you enjoyed it regardless, and I'll see you next time. Special thanks goes out to all my YouTube channel members, especially Daniel BR93 and Tech Fusion.